Close your eyes now and let yourself relax. Take a deep breath in and out. Tonight, we're going on a gentle journey to a beautiful land where the Adriatic Sea sparkles like sapphires, where ancient stone walls tell stories of empires, and where the scent of lavender drifts on warm Mediterranean breezes. Tonight, we travel to Croatia. Let's begin by understanding where this enchanting country rests on the map of Europe. Croatia is nestled along the eastern coast of the Adriatic Sea, a place where Central Europe meets the Mediterranean. It shares borders with Slovenia to the northwest, Hungary to the northeast, Serbia to the east, Bosnia and Herzegovina to the southeast, and Montenegro to the far south. But it's the western edge of Croatia that captures the imagination. Over 1,000 miles of stunning coastline, where limestone cliffs plunge into crystal-clear waters, and more than 1,000 islands, the sea like scattered pearls. The shape of Croatia itself is quite unique, almost like a crescent or a boomerang curving around its neighbor, Bosnia and Herzegovina. This distinctive shape came about through centuries of history, empires rising and falling, borders shifting like sand. But this unusual geography has given Croatia something precious, an incredibly diverse landscape. In the north, you'll find rolling plains and continental climate. In the center, mountainous highlands rise toward the sky, and along that magnificent coast, the Mediterranean sun bathes ancient cities in golden light. Now, let's talk about those islands, because they're truly remarkable. Croatia has 1,244 islands, islets, and reefs scattered along its coastline. Imagine that over 1,000 pieces of land rising from the Adriatic, each one with its own character, its own story. Some are inhabited, with charming fishing villages where life moves at the pace of the tides. Others are wild and uninhabited, home only to seabirds and the whisper of the wind. Of all these islands, only 48 are permanently inhabited. The largest is called KRK, pronounced Kirk, and it's connected to the mainland by an impressive bridge that seems to float above the azure water. As you breathe slowly and deeply, let's journey back in time for a moment. The Croatian people have a fascinating origin story. The Croats arrived in the region that is now Croatia during the great migrations of the 6th and 7th centuries, coming from an area north of the Carpathian Mountains. They were a Slavic people, and they settled in this beautiful land between the mountains and the sea, mixing with the populations already living there. By the 9th century, they had established the Kingdom of Croatia, one of the first Slavic kingdoms in Europe. For a moment in history, Croatia was its own independent kingdom, with its own rulers and its own identity, before eventually entering into a union with Hungary in the 12th century. But long before the Croats arrived, this land had already witnessed thousands of years of human civilization. The Romans knew this coastline well, building cities and roads, establishing trade routes across the Adriatic. In fact, one of Croatia's most famous cities, Split, is built directly around the ruins of an enormous Roman palace. This palace was constructed in the 4th century by the Roman Emperor Diocletian, who chose this beautiful spot to spend his retirement. Imagine that a Roman emperor, ruler of the known world, choosing this particular piece of Croatian coast as the place to rest after a lifetime of power and responsibility. The palace still stands today, its ancient walls now filled with restaurants, homes, and shops. People live and work within the very stones that sheltered an emperor 1,700 years ago. Now, as you sink deeper into relaxation, let's consider the capital city, Zagreb. Nestled inland in the northwestern part of the country, Zagreb is home to nearly 800,000 people, making it by far Croatia's largest city. But Zagreb is more than just a political capital. It's a city of culture, art, and history. The old medieval heart of the city, called Gornji Grad or Upper Town, sits on a hill overlooking the newer parts of Zagreb below. Narrow cobblestone streets wind between centuries-old buildings, and at the center stands St. Mark's Church, with its distinctive tiled roof displaying the coats of arms of Croatia, Dalmatia, and Slavonia in bright, colorful ceramic tiles. It's a roof that looks like a work of art, a checkerboard of red, white, and blue that has become one of Zagreb's most recognizable symbols. Here's something beautiful about the Croatian language. Croatian is the official language, and it belongs to the South Slavic language family. It's written in the Latin alphabet, unlike some of its Slavic cousins that use Cyrillic script. The language has a melodic quality, with words that flow and connect in ways that can sound almost like music. One interesting aspect of Croatian is that it has three main dialects, reflecting the country's diverse regions: Shtokavian, Kachkavian, and Chikavian, each named after the word they use for what. But despite these regional differences, Croatians from the north can understand those from the south, from the coast to the interior, united by this shared language that carries the stories and songs of their ancestors. And speaking of stories, Croatia has given the world something quite unexpected: the necktie. Yes, that strip of fabric that business people around the globe knot around their necks each morning has Croatian origins. During the 30 Years' War in the 17th century, Croatian soldiers serving in France wore distinctive knotted scarves around their necks as part of their uniform. The French were so taken with this stylish accessory that they adopted it, calling it a cravate, derived from Croat. From France, the fashion spread across Europe and eventually around the world. So every time someone adjusts their tie in a boardroom in New York or Tokyo or London, they're wearing a small piece of Croatian heritage, a fashion statement that began on the battlefields of Europe 400 years ago. Let yourself drift even deeper now into comfort and rest. Imagine the Croatian coast at sunset, the ancient stones of Diocletian's palace glowing amber in the fading light, the Adriatic Sea turning from blue to gold to purple as the sun sinks below the horizon. Imagine the islands, over 1,000 of them, each one a small world unto itself, scattered across the shimmering water like a giant's treasure spilled from heaven. We'll continue our journey through Croatia, discovering more of its wonders and secrets. But for now, simply breathe, relax, and let sleep come naturally, carried on the gentle waves of the Adriatic. Rest well, sleep deeply, and let the beauty of distant shores fill your dreams tonight. As you continue to rest peacefully, your body growing heavier and more relaxed with each breath, let's continue our gentle exploration of Croatia, this jewel of the Adriatic where history whispers from every stone and the sea tells ancient stories. Let's journey now to one of Croatia's most breathtaking natural wonders, a place that seems almost too beautiful to be real. In the heart of the country, nestled among forested hills, lies Plitvice Lakes National Park. This is Croatia's oldest and largest national park, and it's truly a masterpiece of nature. Imagine 16 terraced lakes, each one connected to the next by cascading waterfalls, the water flowing in an endless, mesmerizing dance from the highest lake down to the lowest. The lakes shimmer in shades of azure, green, gray, and blue, their colors constantly changing depending on the minerals in the water, the angle of the sunlight, and the organisms living within them. Wooden walkways wind along the water's edge and across the streams, allowing visitors to walk so close to the waterfalls that they can feel the cool mist on their faces. It's a place of such extraordinary beauty that UNESCO recognized it as a World Heritage Site in 1979, one of the first natural sites in the world to receive this honor. Now, as your breathing becomes slower and deeper, let's talk about something that flows through Croatian culture like those waters flow through Plitvice, the tradition of winemaking. Croatia has been producing wine for over 2,500 years. The ancient Greeks and Romans who settled along the Croatian coast brought grapevines with them, and the tradition has never stopped. Today, Croatia produces a fascinating variety of wines, many made from indigenous grape varieties that grow nowhere else in the world. There's Plavac Mali, a robust red grape that thrives on the sun-drenched Dalmatian coast, producing wines as deep and dark as the Adriatic at midnight. There's Malvasia Estarska, a crisp white wine from the Istrian Peninsula in the north, refreshing as a sea breeze. In total, Croatia cultivates over 130 indigenous grape varieties, each one adapted to its specific region, each one telling the story of the soil and sun and sea that shaped it. Here's something remarkable about Croatia's contribution to world science and innovation. You might not know this, but the inventor Nikola Tesla, one of the most brilliant minds in history, was born in Croatia. He was born in 1856 in the village of Smiljan, in the region of Lika, which was then part of the Austrian Empire, but is now in modern Croatia. Tesla would go on to revolutionize our understanding of electricity, developing alternating current systems that power our modern world. He held over 300 patents and envisioned technologies that seemed like science fiction in his time: wireless communication, renewable energy, even concepts that foreshadowed the internet. Today, in that small village of Smiljan, there's a museum dedicated to Tesla's life and work, a testament to the genius who began his journey in the Croatian countryside. As you drift deeper into relaxation, let's consider the ancient city walls of Dubrovnik, one of the most iconic sites in all of Croatia. Dubrovnik, perched on the southern Dalmatian coast, is often called the Pearl of the Adriatic. And when you see it, you understand why. The old city is completely surrounded by massive stone walls that were built and reinforced between the 12th and 17th centuries. These walls stretch for nearly 2 kilometers around the city, and in some places, they're up to 6 meters thick and 25 meters high. You can walk along the top of these walls, circling the entire old city, looking down at terracotta rooftops on one side and the shimmering Adriatic on the other. These walls weren't just for show. They protected the city through centuries of conflict, preserving the Republic of Ragusa, as Dubrovnik was once known, allowing it to flourish as an independent city-state and important trading power for centuries. Now here's something that might surprise you. Croatia uses the euro as its currency, but this is quite recent. For most of its modern history after independence, Croatia used its own currency called the kuna. The name kuna comes from the Croatian word for marten, a small mammal whose fur was used as a form of payment in medieval times. On January 1st, 2023, Croatia officially adopted the euro, becoming the 20th country in the European Union to use the common currency. It was a significant moment, marking Croatia's deeper integration into the European community. The old kuna banknotes featured famous Croatian figures and landmarks, beautiful pieces of currency that told stories of Croatian heritage, but they've now become collector's items, memories of a chapter that is closed. Let's drift now to the Croatian islands and talk about something that grows there, perfuming the air with its intoxicating scent. The island of Var is famous throughout Europe for its lavender fields. When summer arrives and the lavender blooms, entire hillsides turn purple and the air becomes thick with fragrance. Lavender has been cultivated on Var for over a century, and at its peak in the 1930s, Var was one of the world's largest producers of lavender oil. Even today, when you visit during blooming season, you'll see fields of purple stretching toward the horizon, with the blue Adriatic beyond. The lavender is harvested by hand, distilled into essential oil, and used in soaps, perfumes, and sachets. The scent of Var's lavender is the scent of summer on the Dalmatian coast, carried on the wind, lingering in memory long after you've left. Here's something touching about Croatian tradition and culture. Croatia has a rich heritage of folk music and dance, with different regions having their own distinctive styles. One of the most famous is the klapa singing tradition from Dalmatia. Klapa is a form of unaccompanied vocal music, where groups of singers, usually men, harmonize together without any instruments. The word klapa means a group of friends, and traditionally, these groups would gather in town squares or kanobas, traditional taverns, singing songs about love, the sea, their homeland, and the lives of ordinary people. The harmonies are hauntingly beautiful, voices blending together in ways that seem to capture the very soul of the Croatian coast. In 2012, UNESCO recognized klapa singing as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity, acknowledging its importance to Croatian culture and its beauty as an art form. And here's one more fact to carry with you as you sink deeper towards sleep. Croatia is home to one of the smallest towns in the world. Located in the Istrian Peninsula, claims the title of the world's smallest town, with a population that hovers around 20 to 30 people. Despite its tiny size, has all the features of a town: a city gate, a town square, a church, and even a restaurant. Its medieval walls and stone buildings date back centuries, and walking through is like stepping into a living museum, a place where time moves differently, where the pace of life is measured not in hours, but in seasons. In this tiny town, you can truly understand what it means to live slowly, to know every neighbor, to be part of a community so small that everyone is family. So let yourself rest now, drifting on these images of Croatia. Purple lavender fields swaying in the breeze, ancient city walls glowing in sunset light, cascading waterfalls flowing endlessly from lake to lake, the harmonious voices of klapa singers echoing across stone squares. Your breathing is soft and steady, your body completely at ease, your mind wandering through beautiful landscapes both real and imagined. There's still more wonders of Croatia waiting for you, but they can wait until tomorrow. Rest now, deeply and completely. Let the Adriatic's gentle waves lull you to sleep, and dream of distant shores bathed in Mediterranean sun. As you lie here in the quiet darkness, your body completely relaxed, your mind drifting like a boat on calm waters. Let's continue our peaceful journey through Croatia, discovering more of the stories hidden in this remarkable land between the mountains and the sea. There's something extraordinary about the way Croatians celebrate their heritage, and nowhere is this more evident than in the tradition of lace-making on the island of Pag. For centuries, the women of Pag have created intricate lace work using a unique technique that exists nowhere else in the world. They use a needle and thread to create geometric patterns of stunning complexity, work so delicate and precise that a single piece might take months to complete. The designs are inspired by the island itself, the patterns of stone walls, the curves of olive leaves, the ripples in the sea. This lace-making tradition has been passed down from mother to daughter for generations, and in 2009, UNESCO recognized pag lace-making as an intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Each piece of lace is not just beautiful, it's a connection to the past, a thread linking the present to centuries of patient, careful hands creating beauty in a harsh island landscape. Now, as your breathing becomes even slower, let's talk about something that has connected Croatia to the wider world for thousands of years, the ancient Roman road system. One of the most important Roman roads ran directly through what is now Croatia. The Via Augusta, which connected the Roman capital to the eastern provinces, passed through the Istrian Peninsula and down the Dalmatian coast. You can still see remnants of these ancient roads in Croatia today. Stone pathways worn smooth by countless feet and cart wheels over 2 millennia. The Romans also built magnificent amphitheaters, and Croatia is home to one of the best preserved examples in the world. The Pula Arena, located in the city of Pula in Istria, was constructed in the 1st century AD and could hold over 20,000 spectators. Today, this ancient amphitheater still hosts events, concerts, film festivals, opera performances. The same stones that once echoed with the roar of Roman crowds now resonate with music and applause. A bridge spanning 2,000 years. Here's something beautiful about Croatia's relationship with the natural world. The country is home to an incredible diversity of wildlife, including one of Europe's largest populations of brown bears. These magnificent creatures live primarily in the dense forests of Gorski Kotar and Lika, in the mountainous interior of Croatia. There are estimated to be around 1,000 brown bears in Croatia, living in the wild, largely undisturbed. They share these forests with wolves and lynx, creating an ecosystem that has become rare in modern Europe. Conservation efforts have been remarkably successful in Croatia, allowing these animals to thrive while coexisting with human communities. It's a reminder that even in our modern world, there are still places where wilderness endures, where ancient forests shelter creatures that have walked these lands for thousands of years. As you drift deeper into rest, let's consider something that brings joy to Croatians throughout the year. The tradition of coffee culture. In Croatia, drinking coffee isn't just about caffeine. It's a social ritual, a way of life. Croatians will meet friends for a kava, which means coffee, and they might sit in a cafe for hours, talking, watching the world go by, savoring the moment. This tradition is especially strong in the coastal cities, where cafe terraces spill out onto ancient stone squares, and in Zagreb, where elegant coffee houses have served generations of intellectuals, artists, and ordinary people seeking connection and conversation. The pace is slow and unhurried. No one rushes through their coffee in Croatia. It's a moment stolen from the demands of the day, a small ceremony of friendship and presence. In a world that often moves too fast, the Croatian coffee culture is a reminder to slow down, to sit, to simply be. Now here's something that shows Croatia's deep connection to literature and learning. The Croatian island of Korčula claims to be the birthplace of one of history's most famous explorers, Marco Polo. While there's some historical debate about this, many historians believe that Marco Polo was born in Korčula in 1254 before his family moved to Venice. The house said to be his birthplace still stands in the old town of Korčula, a stone building now converted into a small museum. Whether or not Marco Polo truly was born there, the claim speaks to Croatia's position at the crossroads of civilizations, a place where East met West, where the Adriatic connected to the wider Mediterranean world, and where ambitious young people could dream of journeys to distant lands. The spirit of exploration, of curiosity about the world beyond the horizon, has always been part of Croatia's character. Let's think now about something uniquely Croatian, a game that has been played on the island of Brac for centuries. It's called Pisagen, and it's unlike any other sport in the world. Pisagen is played in shallow water, usually on sandy beaches, with a small ball about the size of a tennis ball. Players stand in water that's only ankle to knee deep, and they work together to keep the ball in the air, diving, jumping, and performing acrobatic moves to prevent it from touching the water. There are no winners or losers in Pisagen. The goal is simply to keep playing, to keep the ball aloft for as long as possible through teamwork and creativity. The most spectacular games happen on the beach of Bakvis and Split, where locals and tourists alike gather to play and watch. It's a game that embodies something essential about Croatian coastal culture: playfulness, community, and the joy of movement in the warm Adriatic shallows. Here's something that speaks to Croatia's natural beauty and ecological importance. The Adriatic Sea along Croatia's coast is remarkably clear and clean, with visibility often reaching 20 to 30 meters underwater. This clarity makes Croatian waters some of the best in the Mediterranean for diving and snorkeling. The underwater world is alive with color and movement. Seagrass meadows sway in the currents. Colorful fish dart among rocks. Octopuses hide in crevices. And if you're lucky, you might even spot a dolphin. Croatia takes the health of its seas seriously, with over 10% of its maritime territory designated as protected areas. The country has worked hard to maintain water quality, managing tourism and development carefully to preserve these crystalline waters. When you swim in the Adriatic off the Croatian coast, you're swimming in some of the cleanest waters in all of Europe, clear enough to see your toes touching the pebbled bottom even in water several meters deep. And here's one more tender fact about Croatian culture. Croatia has a tradition called faka, which is particularly strong in Dalmatia, the coastal region. Faka is a word that has no direct translation in English, but it describes a state of being that's deeply relaxing, a blissful laziness, a surrender to the slow pace of life, a complete absence of any desire to do anything at all. It's the feeling of lying in the shade on a hot afternoon, listening to the cicadas singing, feeling the breeze from the sea, and being perfectly content to do absolutely nothing. Faka isn't laziness in a negative sense. It's a conscious choice to step back from the rush of life, to exist fully in a moment of peace. In our busy, demanding world, the Croatian concept of faka is almost revolutionary. Cultural permission to simply stop, breathe, and be still. So rest now in your own moment of faka. Let the images of Croatia wash over you like gentle waves, lacemakers' patient needles, creating beauty, brown bears moving through mountain forests, ancient Roman stones holding 2,000 years of stories, clear Adriatic waters sparkling in endless shades of blue. Your body is heavy now, sinking into perfect comfort. Your breathing barely a whisper. Your mind floating peacefully between waking and dreams. There are still more Croatian wonders waiting for you to discover. But they can wait. Sleep deeply now. Let the warmth of the Mediterranean sun fill your dreams, and rest in the blessed stillness of faka, peaceful calm complete. As you rest here in deepening tranquility, your body growing lighter, somehow even as it sinks deeper into comfort, let's continue our gentle wandering through Croatia, uncovering more of the secrets and stories that make this land so enchanting. There's something remarkable about Croatian independence and identity that deserves to be understood. Croatia declared its independence from Yugoslavia on October 8, 1991, after a referendum in which an overwhelming majority of Croatian citizens voted to become a sovereign nation. This was followed by a difficult period known as the Croatian War of Independence, which lasted until 1995. It was a time of tremendous challenge and sacrifice for the Croatian people, but through it all, they held onto their vision of an independent Croatia. Today, October 8th, is celebrated as Independence Day, a national holiday when Croatians reflect on their journey to sovereignty and honor those who made it possible. The modern Croatian nation is still young, just over 3 decades old, yet it carries within it thousands of years of history and culture. It's a country that has learned to balance honoring its past while building its future. Now, as your breathing flows in and out like the tide, let's talk about something that grows in Croatia's rich soil truffles. The Istrian Peninsula in northern Croatia is famous throughout the culinary world for its truffles, particularly the prized white truffle that grows in the forests around the town of Motovun. These underground fungi, found by specially trained dogs who can smell them beneath the earth, are among the most expensive foods in the world. Croatian truffles rival those from Italy's Piedmont region, and truffle hunters guard their secret locations carefully, passed down through generations. In fact, in 1999, a giant white truffle weighing 1.31 kilograms was found in Istria by a truffle hunter and his dog, making it into the Guinness Book of World Records. During autumn, Istrian restaurants serve dishes infused with fresh truffles, pasta, eggs, even ice cream, and the earthy, intoxicating aroma fills the air, a scent that speaks of ancient forests and hidden treasures beneath the soil. Here's something beautiful about Croatia's contribution to world culture. The inventor of the mechanical pencil was a Croatian. Slavoljub Eduard Penkola, born in 1871, was a prolific inventor who held over 70 patents. In 1906, he patented a mechanical pencil called the Penkola, which became widely popular and gave its name to the word for pencil in several languages. But Penkola didn't stop there. He also invented an improved fountain pen and contributed to the development of numerous other devices. His factory in Zagreb produced writing instruments that were exported around the world. Every time someone clicks the top of a mechanical pencil to advance the lead, they're using technology that traces back to Croatian ingenuity over a century ago. It's a small reminder that innovation comes from unexpected places, that a man working in Zagreb changed the way the world writes. As you drift deeper into rest, let's consider the Adriatic Highway, one of the most scenic coastal roads in the entire world. This road, also called the Jadranska Magistrala, stretches along Croatia's coast for hundreds of kilometers, winding along cliffsides high above the sparkling sea, passing through ancient stone villages, olive groves, and pine forests. It was built in stages throughout the 20th century, with some sections carved into sheer rock faces overlooking the water far below. Driving or cycling this highway is an unforgettable experience. Around every curve, a new vista opens up, islands appearing in the distance, hidden coves with impossibly blue water, historic towns clinging to hillsides. The road connects Split, Dubrovnik, and countless smaller towns and villages, serving as both a practical transportation route and a ribbon of asphalt that reveals the Adriatic coast's beauty kilometer by kilometer. Locals say that you haven't truly seen Croatia until you've traveled the Adriatic Highway at least once, preferably at sunset when the light turns everything golden. Now here's something that shows Croatia's deep historical layers. The country is home to not just one, but 10 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, an impressive number for a relatively small nation. We've already mentioned a few. Plitvice Lakes, the old city of Dubrovnik, Diocletian's Palace in Split, but there are others equally remarkable. There's the Episcopal complex of the Euphrasian Basilica in Porek, with Byzantine mosaics from the 6th century that still shimmer with gold and vibrant colors. There's the historic city of Trogar, an entire medieval town preserved like a jewel in stone. There's the Cathedral of St. James in Sebenik, built entirely of stone with no wooden or brick supports, a masterpiece of Renaissance architecture. Each of these sites tells a different chapter of Croatian and European history, from Roman times through the Byzantine era, the medieval period, and the Renaissance. Walking through these places is like moving through layers of time, each stone holding memories of the hands that shaped it. Let's think now about something that fills Croatian homes with warmth and aroma, the tradition of olive oil production. Croatia has been cultivating olive trees for over 2,000 years, another gift from the Greeks and Romans who settled along these shores. Some of the olive trees still producing fruit today are hundreds of years old, their twisted trunks and silvery leaves testament to their endurance. Croatian olive oil, particularly from Istria and Dalmatia, has won numerous international awards for its quality. The oil ranges from mild and buttery to robust and peppery, depending on the variety of olive and when it's harvested. In Croatian households, good olive oil isn't just for cooking. It's drizzled over bread, stirred into soups, used as a finish for grilled fish and vegetables. It's liquid gold, the essence of the Mediterranean sun and soil captured in a bottle. Many families have their own olive groves, harvesting the fruit each autumn in a tradition that brings multiple generations together. Here's something fascinating about Croatian contributions to science and technology. In addition to Nikola Tesla, Croatia can claim another brilliant mind, Faust Vrancic, a Renaissance polymath who lived from 1551 to 1617. Vrancic was an inventor, philosopher, and bishop who designed numerous machines and devices centuries ahead of their time. Most remarkably, he designed and tested parachute. In 1617, according to accounts, he jumped from St. Mark's Campanile in Venice using a rigid frame parachute of his own design, landing safely. He was 66 years old at the time. Whether this account is entirely accurate or somewhat embellished by history, Vrancic definitely designed functioning parachute concepts, as documented in his book, Machini Novi, or New Machines, which contain detailed drawings of parachutes, suspension bridges, and other innovative devices. This Croatian inventor was imagining ways to fly safely through the air 2.5 centuries before the first airplane took flight. And here's one more tender fact to carry you deeper towards sleep. Croatia has a tradition of klapa, singing that we mentioned earlier. But there's another musical tradition equally beautiful, the sounds of traditional instruments. One such instrument is the Adriatic, a small three-stringed instrument played with a bow, common in Dalmatia. It has a haunting, melancholic sound that seems to capture the longing of sailors at sea, the isolation of island life, the bittersweet beauty of memory. Another is the sopel, double reed instruments played in pairs, creating harmonies that echo through Istrian villages during festivals. These traditional instruments connect modern Croatians to their ancestors, the same melodies played at weddings and celebrations for centuries. When you hear these instruments, especially in the evening when their sounds drift across stone squares or over the water, you're hearing something timeless, music that belongs to the land and sea and sky of Croatia. So rest now, peacefully and completely. Let the music of Croatia fade into your dreams, the haunting notes of the Adriatic, the harmony of sopel pipes, the voices of klapa singers blending under starlit skies. Your body is perfectly still now. Your breathing soft as sea foam on sand. Your mind drifting through olive groves and ancient towns, along the winding Adriatic highway, past UNESCO treasures sleeping in moonlight. Sleep deeply. Dream of truffle-scented forests and sun-warmed olive oil, of parachutes falling gently from bell towers, of independence hard-won and precious, and rest, simply rest, as you lie here in the deepening quiet, your body completely at peace, your mind floating gently like a leaf on still water. Let's continue our peaceful exploration of Croatia, discovering more of the treasures that make this land so special. There's something quite unique about the way Croatians celebrate the Christmas season, and it involves a beloved tradition that brings light to the darkest time of year. In Zagreb, every December, the city transforms into what many consider one of Europe's most beautiful Christmas markets. The main square, Banja Luka Square, and the streets of the old town fill with wooden stalls decorated with twinkling lights, evergreen branches, and red ribbons. The air becomes fragrant with mulled wine called Kahano vino, roasted chestnuts, and traditional Croatian pastries. People gather to shop for handmade ornaments, to warm their hands around cups of hot beverages, and to listen to carol singers and musicians. But what makes Zagreb's Advent particularly special is its warmth and accessibility. The celebration lasts throughout December, and it's designed not for tourists alone, but for the people of Zagreb themselves, a gift of light and community during winter's darkness. In recent years, Zagreb's Christmas market has been voted the best in Europe multiple times, a recognition of how the city opens its heart during the holiday season. Now, as your breathing becomes even softer, let's talk about something that has shaped Croatian cuisine for centuries, the importance of seafood. With that magnificent coastline and all those islands, it's no surprise that Croatians have perfected the art of preparing the fruits of the sea. The Adriatic provides an abundance fresh fish like sea bass, bream, and tuna, shellfish including mussels, oysters, and clams, squid and octopus that become tender and flavorful when prepared with patience and skill. One of the most traditional preparations is the simplest, fresh fish grilled over an open flame, seasoned with nothing more than olive oil, garlic, and a squeeze of lemon. The coastal regions also specialize in a dish called bredet or bejay, a rich fish stew made with multiple types of seafood, tomatoes, and wine, slowly simmered until the flavors meld into something sublime. In the town of Mali Stan, at the northern end of the Pelgisak Peninsula, oyster and mussel farms have operated for centuries in the calm bay waters, producing shellfish that connoisseurs say rival the best in the world. Here's something remarkable about Croatia's natural landscapes. The country is home to 8 stunning national parks, each one showcasing a different aspect of Croatian natural beauty. Beyond Plitvice Lakes, there's Krka National Park, another realm of cascading waterfalls, where you can actually swim in some of the pools beneath the falls. There's Kornati National Park, an archipelago of 89 islands, islets, and reefs in the Adriatic, often described as a nautical paradise with their karst formations rising dramatically from crystal waters. There's Paklenica National Park in the Velebit Mountain Range, a haven for rock climbers and hikers, with canyons carved deep into limestone mountains. There's Mulje, a forested island with 2 saltwater lakes at its heart, so serene that a Benedictine monastery was built on a tiny islet in one of the lakes centuries ago. Each park protects a unique ecosystem, and together they represent Croatia's commitment to preserving its natural heritage for generations to come. As you drift deeper into relaxation, let's consider something about Croatian language and identity. The oldest preserved example of Croatian writing dates back to around the year 1100. It's called the Baska Tablet, a stone inscription found in the Church of St. Lucy on the island of Krk. This tablet, carved in Glagolitic script, is one of the oldest known texts in any Slavic language. The Glagolitic alphabet itself is fascinating. It was created by Byzantine missionaries Cyril and Methodius in the 9th century specifically for Slavic languages. While most Slavic nations eventually adopted either Latin or Cyrillic scripts, Croatia used Glagolitic for centuries, particularly in religious contexts and along the coast. Some Croatian priests continued using Glagolitic in their liturgies until the early 20th century, making it one of the longest used scripts in European history. Today, you can still see Glagolitic inscriptions on old churches and monuments. These beautiful, mysterious characters that look almost runic, connecting modern Croatia to its medieval past. Now here's something that speaks to Croatian resilience and rebuilding. The city of Vukovar, located in eastern Croatia on the Danube River, suffered tremendous damage during the war in the 1990s. The city was besieged for 87 days in 1991, and much of it was destroyed. But the people of Vukovar returned and began the painstaking work of rebuilding their city, stone by stone, street by street. Today, Vukovar has been largely restored, though some buildings have been deliberately left in their damaged state as memorials. Every November 18th, thousands of Croatians gather in Vukovar for a memorial procession, walking in silence to honor those who were lost. It's a solemn reminder of the cost of freedom and independence, but also a testament to the strength and determination of the Croatian people, their refusal to let tragedy define them, their commitment to building a future even after experiencing profound loss. Let's think now about something sweet and celebratory: Croatian desserts. Croatian pastry making reflects the country's position at the crossroads of different cultures. In the north, you'll find strudel, flaky pastry filled with apples or cherries or poppy seeds, a legacy of Austro-Hungarian influence. Along the coast, there's rosada, a creamy custard dessert similar to creme caramel, but flavored with rose liqueur, a Dalmatian specialty that dates back centuries. On the island of Rab, there's a cake called rapska torta, made with almonds and soaked in maraschino liqueur, created by nuns in a monastery over 800 years ago and still made following the same traditional recipe. During holidays and celebrations, Croatian tables groan under the weight of homemade pastries, frickel, tiny donut-like balls dusted with powdered sugar, krostjel, delicate ribbons of fried dough, honey cakes shaped like hearts. These desserts aren't just food, they're tradition. Family recipes passed down through generations, the sweet taste of home and heritage. Here's something fascinating about the Croatian island of Vis. During the Cold War era, from 1950 until 1989, Vis was closed to foreign visitors and even to most Yugoslav citizens. The island served as a strategic military base, its position in the middle of the Adriatic making it important for defense. Soldiers were stationed there, military installations were built, and the island remained isolated from the outside world for nearly 4 decades. When Vis finally reopened in 1989, it was like a time capsule. The fishing villages had remained largely unchanged. Traditional ways of life had continued undisturbed, and the island had been spared the rapid tourism development that transformed other Croatian islands. Today, Vis is known for its authenticity, its stunning hidden beaches like Staniva Cove, its excellent wines, and its relaxed atmosphere. The years of isolation, while difficult for residents at the time, inadvertently preserved the island's character. Sometimes what seems like a disadvantage becomes, in time, a unique gift. And here's one more beautiful fact to carry with you as sleep draws nearer. Croatia has a tradition called festa, which means festival or celebration in Dalmatian dialect. Throughout the summer months, nearly every town and village along the coast, and many inland as well, holds its own festa. These are celebrations of patron saints, harvests, historical events, or simply community itself. There's music and dancing in the streets, long tables set up in town squares laden with local food and wine, children running and playing, older folks sitting and talking, everyone coming together. These celebrations can last late into the night, sometimes until dawn, with no one in a hurry to leave. The festa tradition embodies something essential about Croatian culture: the importance of community, the value of celebration, the belief that life should include moments of pure joy shared with neighbors and friends. In a festa, everyone is welcome, barriers dissolve, and for those hours, the whole town becomes like one big family. So rest now in the warmth of that community spirit. Imagine yourself sitting at one of those long tables under the stars, surrounded by laughter and music, the scent of grilled fish and wine, the Adriatic breeze cooling the summer night. Your body is perfectly relaxed now, every muscle soft and loose, your breathing barely there at all, your mind drifting through Christmas markets glowing with light, through national parks where waterfalls sing their eternal song, through ancient scripts carved in stone. Sleep deeply, dream of islands preserved in time, of desserts sweet as memory, of festivals where joy flows like wine, and rest peacefully, completely, in the embrace of distant shores and gentle seas. As you rest here in the deepening embrace of night, your body heavy with relaxation, your mind drifting like clouds across a moonlit sky, let's discover the final beautiful truths about Croatia. These last gentle stories to carry you into peaceful dreams. There's something magical about the way nature announces the seasons in Croatia, and one of the most spectacular displays happens every spring along the coastline. The rocky Adriatic shores and hillsides burst into bloom with wild broom, a flowering plant that covers entire landscapes in brilliant golden yellow. The broom flowers release an intoxicating sweet fragrance that fills the air, mixing with the salt scent of the sea. At the same time, wild herbs begin to flourish: rosemary, sage, thyme, and oregano grow wild across the Croatian landscape, particularly in the karst regions of Dalmatia. For centuries, Croatians have harvested these herbs to use in cooking, medicine, and to make fragrant teas. Walking through the Croatian countryside in spring is like walking through a natural garden, every breath filled with perfume, every hillside painted in shades of gold and green. The herbs are so abundant that the honey produced by Croatian bees grazing on these wild flowers has a distinctive flavor, complex and aromatic, prized by those who know good honey. Now, as your breathing flows like a gentle tide, let's talk about something that represents Croatian craftsmanship and maritime heritage: the tradition of wooden boat building. For centuries, Croatian shipwrights have been building traditional wooden boats called gajitas in Dalmatia, or batanas in Istria. These boats are beautifully crafted, designed specifically for the Adriatic's conditions, with flat bottoms for navigating shallow waters and curves that handle the sea's moods with grace. The building techniques have been passed down through generations, with each boat built by hand using traditional tools and methods. In some coastal towns, You can still find older men in small boatyards, measuring and cutting and shaping wood just as their grandfathers did. The Batana boat-building tradition in Ravenj was even recognized by UNESCO as intangible cultural heritage. These boats aren't museum pieces. Many are still used by fishermen today. Their wooden hulls cutting through the same waters they've navigated for hundreds of years. Here's something touching about Croatia's connection to music on a global scale. The composer Franz von Supp, one of the most popular composers of operettas in the 19th century, had Croatian roots. Born in 1819 in what is now Split, he went on to compose over 30 operettas and 180 farces and other stage works. His Light Cavalry Overture remains one of the most recognizable pieces of classical music in the world, often used in cartoons and films. But beyond von Supp, Croatia has contributed to classical music in other ways. The necktie that Croatian soldiers wore became fashionable across Europe's concert halls and opera houses. And in more recent times, Croatian cellists, pianists, and violinists have graced the world's greatest stages, carrying forward a tradition of musical excellence that stretches back centuries. As you sink even deeper into comfort, let's consider something about Croatian ingenuity in everyday life. Croatians are credited with inventing the first fountain pen that was truly practical for everyday use. We mentioned Slavoljub Eduard Penkala earlier with the mechanical pencil, but he also perfected the fountain pen design in 1907, creating a pen with an improved ink reservoir and feed system that prevented leaking and made writing smoother. Before this innovation, fountain pens were unreliable and messy. Penkala's design made them practical for everyone, not just the wealthy who could afford constant maintenance. His factory in Zagreb produced these pens under the brand name Penkala, and they were exported throughout Europe. It's another example of Croatian innovation quietly changing daily life around the world. People writing letters, signing documents, recording their thoughts, all with a tool perfected in Croatia. Now here's something that shows Croatia's ancient connection to the divine. The city of Zadar is home to one of the most unique modern art installations in the world, but one deeply rooted in ancient ideas. The Sea Organ, or Morskar Gulch, was designed by architect Nikola Basic and completed in 2005. It consists of a series of tubes and whistles built into marble steps descending into the Adriatic. As waves push air through the tubes, the organ creates haunting, ever-changing musical tones. No two moments sound the same. The sea composes its own music, played by the rhythm of the waves. People gather on the steps at sunset, sitting in silence, listening to the Adriatic sing. It's a modern creation, but it touches something ancient. The human desire to be in harmony with nature, to hear the voice of the sea, to sit at the boundary between land and water and simply listen. The Sea Organ won the European Prize for Urban Public Space in 2006, recognized as a place that brings people together in contemplation and peace. Let's drift now to something sweet and simple, the Croatian love of ice cream. Gelato shops, or sladoled in Croatian, are everywhere in coastal towns and cities, and Croatians take their ice cream seriously. Many shops make their gelato fresh daily, using local ingredients, figs from nearby trees, honey from local hives, carob from the islands, lavender from Var, even olive oil gelato that tastes surprisingly delicate and wonderful. Eating ice cream is a daily ritual during summer, with families strolling along the waterfront as the sun sets, children with gelato dripping down their hands, couples sharing cones, grandparents treating their grandchildren. There's no rush, no hurry. It's just another way that Croatians practice the art of savoring life, of taking pleasure in simple things, of turning an ordinary evening into a gentle celebration. Here's something about Croatian literacy and education. Croatia has a remarkably high literacy rate, over 99%, and a strong tradition of education and scholarship. The University of Zadar, founded in 1396, was one of the first universities established in Croatia, though the oldest continuously operating university is the University of Zagreb, founded in 1669. Throughout Croatian history, even during times of political upheaval and foreign rule, Croatians maintained their commitment to education, preserving their language and culture through schools and books and scholarship. Libraries and reading rooms called sidnice were established in towns throughout Croatia in the 19th century, becoming centers of cultural and national awakening. This tradition of learning continues today, with Croatian students often excelling in international competitions in mathematics, science, and other fields. Knowledge and education are deeply valued, seen not just as tools for advancement, but as treasures in themselves. Now here's something about Croatian hospitality that speaks to the warmth of the culture. There's a tradition in Croatia, particularly in rural areas and islands, of offering guests homemade rakića, a fruit brandy. When you visit someone's home, they'll often bring out a bottle of rakića that they or their family made, along with some homemade cookies or dried figs. The rakića might be made from grapes, plums, pears, cherries, or even herbs and honey. Accepting this offering is important. It's not just about the drink. It's about accepting hospitality, honoring the host's generosity, sharing a moment of connection. People will tell you stories about their rakića. This one is from my grandfather's plum tree. This one I made last autumn. This recipe has been in my family for generations. These small glasses of homemade spirits are really small glasses of tradition, family history, and welcome. In a Croatian home, you're not just a visitor, you're a guest, and that means something profound. And here's our final fact, number 50. To carry you gently into sleep, Croatia has given a gift to the world in the form of a simple gesture of peace. During various cultural exchanges throughout history, Croatian traditions of greeting and friendship have spread beyond their borders. But more than any specific custom, Croatia represents something universal in its landscape and spirit. The idea that beauty and hardship can exist together, that a small nation can preserve its identity through centuries of change, that the past and present can live side by side in harmony. The very existence of Croatia, with its restored cities and protected forests, its ancient traditions and modern innovations, its islands floating in clear waters, and its mountains touching the clouds, reminds us that persistence and love for one's homeland can overcome any obstacle. Croatia is more than a country. It's a testament to resilience, to beauty, to the human spirit's capacity to rebuild, to preserve, to celebrate life even after loss. So rest now, completely and utterly at peace. Your journey through Croatia is complete. You've walked its ancient streets and modern boulevards. You've tasted its food and wine. You've heard its music and languages. You've seen its seas and mountains. You've felt its warmth and known its stories. Your breathing is soft as sea mist now. Your body melting into perfect stillness. Your mind floating free, drifting on the Adriatic's gentle currents, carried by the scent of wild herbs and broom flowers, lulled by the sea organ's eternal song. Sleep now, deeply, peacefully. Dream of sunlit islands and ancient stones, of gelato melting on summer evenings, of festivals lasting until dawn, of a country small in size, but infinite in beauty. Rest, dream, and good night. Laka no si, sleep well.